Good morning and welcome to Kramer's Corner with Daily Technical Update. It is Thursday the 12th of June. This video is an educational video only. There is no recommendation or advice whatsoever. And we'll start with Apple today. US market was a little bit lower yesterday and Apple was also sold off a bit. Rejected here at the 55 moving average, as you can see. Still negative sentiment on the RSI. I think we will see a test of the 193.25 support line here fairly shortly, and also a very possible break, and then it can easily be back in these 170 level. To really reverse the trend here, it needs to close above 217. But for now, we are in a bearish mood, and I think we could see that support being tested. On the Nasdaq 100 itself, started out good, ended a little bit on the negative side. We are stretched, as you can see. We have divergence on the RSI. You see RSI values declining, market moved higher, indicating uptrend exhaustion. Of course, it can go on for quite some time, but if it starts moving back below 21,455, then we could be in for a larger correction, pre-market a little bit lower. If we are moving on to the other indices, and we have to switch chart here, S&P 500, same picture really, and I will add a horizontal line and say, okay, if we move below the 5,921, then we could see a bearish move down to 5,700, 800 level down here. On the Dow Jones Index, dancing around this level here, around 42,850, 40 area. There is not much of a divergence there really, but the other two indices are clearly the ones that are calling the shots. In Asia this morning, we had Hang Seng also about 1% lower after reaching 138.2 projection here just below 24,500, setting back a little bit. Also building up some divergence here, a little bit of a trend exhaustion. Could still push towards the previous peak here at just below 25,000, but now it seems a little bit stretched. But if it takes out yesterday's peak, then I think we'll see it moving up there. Nikkei testing the resistance here at 38,470 a couple of times. Actually spiked higher this morning, almost up to the excuse me, to the peak of this triangle-like pattern here, but ended back below the falling trend line. So a little bit of a fatigue there maybe kicking it, but it needs to take out today's peak to really push higher. So a little bit of a setback there, and expected maybe also to test the lower rising trend line, possibly moving lower. And if it takes out the support here at 37,280, well, then we could see it down in the 36,570, maybe lower levels. European markets, EuroStoxx50 couldn't get above the 5,437 resistance, sitting back there, and here pre-market we also sitting back a bit more, so 5,313 could be tested. We could also see the 100 moving average coming up there. It will give some support about around 5,300. I wouldn't be surprised if we see that sell-off, but the market sliding back to around that level. We have the excuse me, the DAX index. I think we'll see a test at 23,740 here fairly soon. If it closes below that, well, then we could see a push down to around 23,338 support area here, where we are 23,475. This region here, there's some stronger support. If that is being taken out, well, then we're looking at the 55 moving average coming up here, adding to the support area here, just around 23,000. Here we have on the CFD/future 23,335. There's some stronger support. It looks quite toppish at the moment, and I think we will see further setback. On the FX side, euro dollar pushed higher yesterday in late session, continues today, and I think we will see it pushing above the 115.75 peak here and could push higher towards 117.60, maybe 118, and maybe even 119 here in the coming weeks. We can see where we have here on the weekly chart. There is some resistance up in this area here, 117, 118. It seems like we are pushing towards that level. For this to not unfold, this scenario to unfold, we need to move back below 113.80, and it's not really where the scenario looks. What the scenario looks like at the moment. Sterling dollar cable here, still sideways between 136 and 134.40. It is euro sterling that is on the move. Has reached the 38.2 retracement. RSI currently above 60 threshold. If it stays above, it indicates higher levels, and I think we could see a push up and maybe also above the cloud and the resistance here at 85.25, and then we could see a push up to just below 86, which is 61.8 retracement of this downtrend here. It wouldn't surprise me that much to really demolish this picture. First of all, it needs to be rejected here at 85, and RSI needs to close below 60 threshold. If that scenario plays out, well, then we could see a setback down to the 84 level, but I don't think that at the moment we have 55 moving average coming up, also rising there, supporting the current bullish move. On the yen pairs, dollar yen setting back, couldn't really get away from the 55 moving average. I think we will see a retest of the 142 support area down here, and if it breaks below and RSI closes below 40 threshold, expect a test of the 140.25, 140 level. And if we are looking at the weekly chart, we can see why it's such a strong support area here. It dipped below a couple of times, but this time, if it really having a go at it, then we could see it 137. But let's see, it is a very strong and key support area at the 140, 140.25. The euro yen moved higher yesterday, didn't get all the way up, very close to the 166.55 resistance, didn't get up to even up to the 138.2 projection before setting back. Still positive sentiment on the RSI, but looks a bit stretched. We could still see it pushing higher, and if it takes out 166.55, I think we could see a push up to the 161.8 projection of this correction down there at 167.70. Aussie yen rejected at the 786 retracement at 94.80, and now setting back below the 100 moving average, and we can see all moving averages are declining. RSI still positive sentiment, but it seems like we are going to have a setback here. If it takes out 91.65, well, then we are looking at 90s, but 60, and a move below there, then we're looking at lower levels again. To take out, it will take something to take out the peak from yesterday, but if it does, then we could be testing 95.75. Sterling yen, as it's been rejected several times, that is 196.40, 45 key resistance that should be observed. Can't take it out apparently. I think we'll test the lower rising trend line here again, possibly also the 61.8 retracement here at 192.65. Aussie dollar, there we have it. Couldn't get above 65.50, now setting back, and the 200 moving average is the strongest one. It's like dragging it lower. I think we could see it being tested, and I also think we could see a test of the lower rising trend line there. However, we have the 55 and the 100 moving average coming up. We have positive sentiment on the RSI indicating higher levels, but it really needs to take out 65.50. The dollar Canada now again testing lows here at 136.40, 45, and if we're looking at the weekly, we can see what it's really a conflicting point here. We have the lower rising trend line coming up. We have the key support there. We are in a bearish trend on both daily and weekly, and there's no divergence on the weekly. There might be a little bit on the daily, but if we're closing below this level here at 136.45 and RSI below its lows there, then it's cancelled, and then I think we could see dollar Canada in a move below 135. Sterling Canada bounced from the 61.8. It took out its lows there. That was a minor support, but it has bounced from the 61.8 retracement of this uptrend here at 184 and a quarter. If it takes out the lows from yesterday, expect a move down to 183.50, which is the 786 retracement, and maybe even test the lows here at 182.60. EuroSwiss closed above 94 and a quarter yesterday, setting back a little bit. Key was that RSI didn't close above 60 threshold. If it does, can get above, and meaning if it takes out the peak from yesterday, it closes above, and then the 94.47, 94 and a half is the key resistance, and also the upper part of the cloud. So if all these scenarios plays out, first of all, closing higher and closing above 60 threshold, then expect a move up to 95 and possibly higher here on Euro Swiss. Dollar Swiss sliding lower, has resumed downtrend after a little bit of sideways stepping the past few weeks. We could see it moving down to the lows here in this area around 80s, but 40, and even maybe lower. So that will be key to what's here the next few days, what will actually play out. We can see the 61.8 we were dancing around. Now is the 786 that I think will be tested, but I think we could push lower. The dollar index also lower now, and is likely to test the lows here at 97.68. If it takes it out, well, then we are looking at 96. And looking at the weekly chart, we can see then we are looking at 97.44 and 96.94 down here. So the downtrend seems to continue on the dollar index. Gold, moving on to gold spot, crawling slowly higher, and if it takes out the peak here at 3,404, well, then expect a bullish move towards 3,500, and previous all-time highs there could actually also be taken out, at least tested, and that scenario is likely to play out also if the RSI closes above the 60 threshold here in the next few days. Silver taking a little bit of pause after this strong move here earlier this week, but as we can see here on the weekly, there's still room up to 35 and a half and possibly higher towards 40 in the coming weeks. Medium term, all indicators are pointing higher. We can also see here on the daily, if we're looking at that again, RSI, there's no divergence. Yes, we were a little bit stressed, but there's no divergence, indicating likely higher levels on silver. Platinum in exhaustion modes a little bit. The RSI very stretched, as you can see, 86.40 almost. There's no divergence, however, so I think we will see a little bit of a setback and then next push higher. But we reached the 1280. We reached the 1280 and then some yesterday. That was my target. We talked about it yesterday, and let's just zoom out and see what's really going on. See, we're back up here. So if it takes out the peak from yesterday at 1286, well, then suddenly we are up here at the peak at just below 1440 from 2021. On the other hand, copper is struggling, so it's not really following through, and maybe due to the 55 moving average, it's trying to still drag it lower. However, we are in a bullish trend, higher high, higher low, higher high. So what's gonna give here? And that will be key the next few days. What I will do, I will add a horizontal line and say, okay, if we're taking out closing below 464, well, then we could see a move down to 450, and the slightly bullish picture has been demolished, and we are back in a range. Moving on to energy and oil, really on the move yesterday. We talked about it, that it was dancing around this support resistance here at 64.80, then shot it higher up to the 138.2 projection and a bit this morning. The 200 moving average just around that. But the RSI was in a positive sentiment we talked about yesterday, so there was potential higher, and we can see it's playing out. If it takes out the peak from today, since we actually open higher and slightly lower, then we're looking at 70.72 area up here, and these peaks there, and we can actually add a horizontal line. If that scenario plays out, but it's interesting that we open high and then it's already selling off pretty soon. However, still positive sentiment, no divergence on the RSI, indicating likely higher levels for WTI Brent Crude oil, also shot higher yesterday, and still has room up to the 200 moving average and still has room up to the peaks here just around 75.5. So bullish trend really, and the RSI also positive sentiment indicating likely higher levels, but maybe we should test this support here at 68.68 before next move. We can also say, well, all moving averages are still declining, so that will drag on it a little bit, but bullish trend for now. The European gas, well, sideways dancing, maybe in a triangle-like pattern. If it takes out the lows here at 33.70, I expect to move down to 31. Otherwise, we could test the 38.2 upper range. The US nat gas, really not much to say. Still this range between 384 and 310. Treasury yields are setting back. US 10-year Treasury yields set back yesterday, and it got rejected at the 61.8 retracement there at 450, and that is the key resistance. So how much are we going to set back? Also 61.8 at the moment at 439. I think we could see it sliding lower towards the 786 retracement at 436. However, if it takes out the peak here from a few days ago, I expect to move up to 465. The 2-year, not really much to talk about, basically just dancing sideways there between 403 and 384. Moving on to the European yields, moving lower, testing 249 once again, and I think we will see a test of 243. So lower European yields, also on the UK, very close to the 786 retracement there at 450. Could be tested. RSI testing the 40 threshold. If it moves back below, well, then we could see it sitting back all the way down to 440 area down here. But for now, it's still holding on, maybe bouncing a little bit. And finally, Bitcoin, that actually had some promising move here the other day. Then I thought, okay, we're going to see a new all-time high. I still believe we'll do that, but it seems like it needs to gather some strength down here before it next push higher. But it needs to take out 112,000 before it actually pushes 220, and it could take a bit of time. 55 moving average coming up there, still positive sentiment, no divergence on the RSI, indicating likely higher levels. We have the Ethereum in a bullish trend, positive sentiment on the RSI. It's slightly divergence here. You can see these peaks here are lower than here, but market are higher here than here. So that's actually quite interesting. Divergence between the Ethereum and the Bitcoin at the moment. So let's see who wins. Usually it's Bitcoin, but let's see about that. Keep an eye on it. If it takes out the peak from yesterday, well, then we could see 3,000 being tested. All right, that's all for today. Have a nice day and talk to you again later.